Joining me to discuss this, royal editor Robert Jobson and TalkTV's royal correspondent Rupert Bell. Gentlemen, welcome. Rob, let's start with you. I wasn't. Were you surprised the Prince of Montecito was a no-show? I hear when he got here he had jet lag, so he didn't think he'd turn up.
Well, I mean, if the judge had expected him to be there, he should have been there. There's no question about that. And I think that it's not the best way to get off on this case to upset the judge. But, I mean, I think that both sides would have known very early on that he wasn't coming. I'm sure that his KC had informed the court straight away. But ultimately, this case hasn't got off to the best of starts for him. But it's all going to come down to evidence at the end, Jeremy. It's all well and good Harry saying he wants to change the media and change the world, but, you know, a lot of people believe in a free press. A lot of people don't think very rich people that live abroad should be there to dictate the way the media is run. It's a free press, and a lot of these things are relating to a media of the past. You know, a lot of these are historic allegations, and if found guilty, then the Mirror Group will have to apologise and pay up. But if there's got to be evidence in all of these cases, and that's what we're going to have a look at and dig deep on over the next couple of days.
Couldn't agree more. Belly, we were talking last week about Harry. It seems to me that the walls are closing in and the ability to jump up and down is becoming more and more sketchy for him and her. Would he be expecting, because he's a prince, to get some sort of easy ride in this one-man crusade? Because I'm going to ask both of you, and I'll start with you, Belly, the obvious question. You know, all I hear about is privacy, 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 privacy. What about my privacy? And then he wrote bloody spare. It doesn't sit with me, Rupert. It never has.
Well, this will be difficult for him, because suddenly he's going to be grilled without any control over what he's being asked. Clearly, he believes in his case, so if he's confident enough, he will be able to answer the questions that come at him. But it will be much more difficult for him. It's all right being interviewed under tame circumstances by Oprah and doing a Netflix documentary and writing a book. But even when he did his press tour, he suddenly left himself. He wasn't quite the self-assured person. And this will be like nothing he's had to go through before, because you can bet your bottom dollar the Mirror's lawyer will be going at him hammer and tongs to make sure that they defend their case. David Sherborne, representing Prince Harry, well, he's a showman as ever there was one. He loves to rile the judges, and he's managed to do that today. But for Harry, this is going to be 2 days really difficult for him to negotiate and come away unscathed.
Couldn't agree more. Robert, the thing is, this sort of sustained war on the media, you know, that Harry and Meghan, but she seems to have stepped back. I don't know what's going on there. This war that continues, I think, becomes more and more difficult for him now because, in my humble opinion, he's traded royalty for celebrity. And we all know, do we not, that it's very... I'm not condoning anything that might or might not have gone on. I'm not even talking about the specifics. But when you sit yourself at the top of this mountain, you're going to change the world. I just see this is a rocky road ahead of his own making. Again, I want to know, right, seriously, who advises this couple of idiots? It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I think you've knocked it right on the head there, because the fact is I think they don't take any advice. The reality is, you know, I'm a royalist, you're a royalist. The fact is, by him taking on the free press in the way that he's doing, over very historical allegations, and don't need to go into them, that will come out in the case. But he's not really the champion of the free press. He's, you know, ultimately the royal family is an unelected institution. It depends upon the goodwill of the people and the press to actually exist. And I think that this is damaging for his father and his family. And this is a man, after all, that breached so many people's privacy with his book Spare. People that, you know, he talked about his first sexual encounter without actually telling the girl, the poor girl, that he was going to reveal
you
it.
know what?
In the book.
You took the words out of my mouth, Robert. He didn't give her any privacy, did he? He gave her name out. She was pursued by the press. Piers had her on. She was able to give her side of the story, and quite rightly too. At the end of the day, you know, she was searched when he made that comment. So it's almost as if, I think, with him and her, but it's him at the moment, Rupert, that he expects to still be treated royally, for want of a better phrase. To me, he sold his soul and is not royal anymore. We've talked about that. if he's expecting any good treatment, I think he's in for yet another surprise. And I ask this of you both. Do you think there's any public sympathy left at all, pal? Any?
I think he's got a... This could... If he can win this case, and if he proves it, and in a court of law, then he may get a sympathy vote coming back in his favour. But if it goes wrong, then yet more negative headlines will come his way. So he's dancing with the devil at the moment, because he's now got to prove that he's intellectually up to dealing with these very bright lawyers coming at him, trying to prove their case that nothing untoward happened. So these two days are going to be absolutely a key to his future, because if they win the case, a different set of circumstances. But if he loses, well, then I'm afraid he will be going away once again with the tail between his legs.
Guys, before we talk about his visa application, we just did a poll. Prince Harry has taken the media to court this week. Is it just another publicity stunt? Yes, 90%. There you go. Again, Gail, I don't think it's just a publicity stunt. I think he is just delusional enough to think he deserves apologies from the whole world, because he wanted all the perks of royalty, but none of the inconveniences. I agree. Andy, he failed to appear. Apparently, though, he wouldn't be needed. We're paying for this fantasy. It's a charade. Go back to America. Richard, of course it is. How else do they make a living? Joseph, just another attempt to this is interesting, to remain relevant in the public eye. And Michael, I think I speak for all. I don't care. I just don't want to foot the bill. I think that's the point. That's the other thing, you know. Harry and Meghan, this quest to seem, you know, shunned, hurt, got at. They're loaded. Just sit in California with your chickens and try and understand what the rest of us are going through. Robert, can I just tell you, the US government tomorrow in court as well to answer questions over Harry's visa application. Very quickly, he's not got a criminal record for drugs, but he gave it all in spare, which is ask questions. It's an interesting one, isn't it?
It is. I mean, technically, the guy who stamps the passport can turn him away if he's read spare. But I think that you're going to find that, as in America, with America, he's a high-profile individual and he'll have political friends and it'll probably just disappear.
Final one to you, Rupert. Good news. Royal baby today. This is like a daytime television programme. Princess Eugenie announced the birth of Ernest George Ronnie Brooksbank. He was born May the 30th, 11th in line to the throne, and her second son, and the Duke of York's his granddad.
Mum has baby shocker.
What is that? Is that the only comment you're coming out with? You couple of old cynics.
Well, I'm delighted for them, but let's be honest, it's lovely, and delighted for Jack and his wife that they've had a baby boy. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to. It's a bit of fluff.
You don't care, do you? You cynical old man. What about you, Robert Jobson? Finish it off with a bit.
At least Ronnie, at least Major Ron's been remembered in the name. He was always a good guy to us with the press when we used to go down to the polo. He made sure we got a glass of champagne. So wherever Major Ron is, I raise a glass to him.
You're talking about? Are you talking about Sarah Ferguson's father?
Yeah, he was all right.
He was all right. Gentlemen, brilliant. You both look like you've never been to the pub for ages. We appreciate you being on...